what we hear from the liberal left. And speaking of the liberal left, we've had a major change in the administration. Obviously, yesterday was Inauguration Day. Extremely pleased that it went off without a hitch. Of course, they'd closed them all, not only because of COVID, but because of the potential threats that they talked about. But I think it was, again, it proved that America's capable of a peaceful transition. I'm proud of that. I'm glad there was no disruptions in any of our 50 states or at the national inauguration. There's a lot of talk about, the rhetoric that President Trump initiated with cheating and they stole it. Being a person that's won and lost elections by a very narrow margin, I'm going to opine. The time to talk about cheating and stealing is not the day after the election, Andrea. It's before. Because elections follow a statute in all states, right? So with respect to gubernatorial and presidential elections, you have 4 years to fix it. If you don't think, and there are weaknesses in your electoral process in your state, your legislators, both your representatives and your senators in your state capital, need to fix that. And the governors will sign it. The good news is the majority of the states are led by Republicans. So we had 4 years to address the issues. And my personal opinion is it didn't make us look very good that we started bashing Republican leaders in states. So if there's a problem, if there's a weakness, if there's an aperture for cheating and stealing, close it, fix it. But don't complain about it the day after the election. You have a right to complain, and you have a right to complain peacefully and assemble peacefully. You certainly don't have a right to destroy property. And we as conservatives talk about what's going on in Portland and what went on in Dallas when our police officers here in our state were shot and killed randomly, and the lawlessness we see in a lot of cities. But I was somewhat shocked and dismayed and very disappointed about what I saw at the Capitol. So I hope that none of our conservative Latinos are participating. By the way, also personal observation. It's always amazing when you look at these crowds. There aren't a lot of Latinos breaking windows and raiding the Capitol and burning cities. I guess most of our community's working.
I know it wasn't, and I'm very happy that nothing happened yesterday either. Everything went smooth in the way it was expected. But everybody was afraid that something was going to happen, and it was a lot of security everywhere, including Houston and including all the major cities. But I'm glad that nothing happened and everything went the way it should be, you know. And we always said, even if we like or we don't like the person that is in power and whoever is the president of this country, of whoever country you live. We need to be united and we need to be supported, I mean, going against is not going to help us. And we just need to be one nation, and let's see what is going to happen. We just need to do our best.
The good news is the next presidential election has already begun. There's 1,250 days left, más o menos.
Más o menos.
So nothing is permanent. Get to work. If you don't like what you saw, if you don't like the policies you're going to see, and, I'm into predictions. When I got booted out of office in Harris County, I made 3 predictions. Crime would increase in Harris County. We broke more than 400 homicides in Houston, Texas. Hadn't happened in a long, long time. The debt would increase in Harris County, and that taxes would rise. And all of those are coming true. I was going through my phone the other day, and last summer I was filling up. As everybody knows, I like to have a very limited carbon footprint, so I drive Ford F-250s with 7.3 turbo diesels.
Yeah,
anyway,
I saw it.
I was buying fuel, and I was at a Walmart, a Murphy station, and I took a picture of it. I couldn't find it. I was going to put it up on the screen. At that time, gasoline, regular gasoline, was $1.49 a gallon. And diesel was $1.69. Now, if you've driven past a gas station since the election, you've seen almost an 80 cent per gallon increase in your fuel price. Oh, and by the way, the new administration decided to put the kibosh on a big old pipeline that was going to bring crude down to the Texas Gulf Coast for refining. So the Keystone Pipeline looks like it's off again. So that's my prediction.
We'll see what's going to happen.
Andrea, people don't think about this, but let's assume there's a $1 increase in a gallon of gasoline, and your car has 20 gallons, and you fill it up 4 times a month, right?
At least.
That's a lot of money on an annual basis for hardworking families. And so on top of that, by the way, your taxes are going to increase because I think this new administration and this new Congress, because the administration will sign it. First of all, the president doesn't pass laws. The president simply signs a law that has been passed by Congress. Congress, that is the House of Representatives, controls the purse strings. And those are controlled by the liberal left right now. And we all know that the liberal left likes revenue. They call it revenue, but it's called taxes. It's money out of your pocket, and it goes to the United States Treasury in Washington, D.C., and they decide how to spend your money. So your taxes will increase, your gasoline will increase, and so those are decisions that you're going to have to make in about 1,250 days as to whether you like what they did or you like the way it was when you were paying $1.49 for gas and your taxes were low and we ensured that we had a very limited government. Conservatives love to talk about a limited government. We don't want an out-of-control government telling us what to do and how to do it. And so, anyway, that's where we are today. And
that's why it's O for opinion.
Right. All right. Well, we have the floor now.
So welcome everybody. Buenos días a todos. We're doing the Facebook Live today on a Thursday, the day after the presidential inauguration. And
yeah, because we knew everybody's going to be watching.
Correct.
Right.
It was we're going to lose people if we do it yesterday. But anyway, it was interesting to do it today because, it gives us more to talk. Today we have 2 special guests, and one is our dear friend. She is in Longview, Texas, and I'm going to visit that small town very soon.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yes, I know. It's going to be Longview before Andrea Gomez and Longview after Andrea Gomez goes there. And then our second guest that was going to have it for the at the end of the show, it's Cubano, como tú. Two Cubans today. Two Cubans in the house and a Colombiana. That's going to be dangerous.
The 3 C's, 2 Cubans and a Colombian.
That's going to be dangerous. So, and our second guest is an attorney. Dear friend of us, dear friend of the TLC. And so he's going to talk about all the situation and the new things that we're going to see with immigration law and what is the impact on that. But let's welcome our dear friend, Michelle Gamboa, and also former executive director of the TLC, Michelle in Longview. Michelle, ¿cómo estás?
Howdy, buenos días, muy bien. ¿Cómo están ustedes?
We're good, Michelle. And you guys notice she says howdy. So you can imagine where she went to her post-secondary education, right? Up in College Station, Texas. And so she is a proud Aggie. And, she was excited about our program a couple weeks ago when we had the Comandante.
Oh my God, that show
Corps of Cadets
was amazing.
At Texas A&M. Michelle
that was last week.
Whoop!
That show was amazing. It went viral for us. Yeah. It went viral. But Michelle, welcome. I know. Thanks for your time. And I know you had a new position now. You have a new position now, and we want you to talk about the excitement of that new position. What is that new position? And you are like the first Latina and Hispanic, the first Latina woman Hispanic in that position.
Yes, thank you so much. So first of all, before I get started, I just want to say make sure that you go to the Texas Latino Conservatives website and donate to them. They do a lot of great things like these, and they engage, motivate, and educate our population. So let's make sure that we're supporting them with our time and our resources so that we can continue to educate people across the airwaves. But
she
thank
keeps
you guys
working.
for having me.
She keeps working like a executive director, promoting.
I'm the Mexicana of the group. You got your Colombianos and your Cubanos.
Cubano, I know you're the Mexicana from Juarez.
From Juarez, Mexico.
Juarez, Chihuahua, yes. And so I'm the president of the East Texas Young Republicans. So we started that chapter over here. We're federated under the Young Republican Federation. We're one of the few regional clubs within the federation, so we oversee all the East Texas counties. But more exciting than that, I have the privilege of now being the vice chair for the Republican Party of Gregg County. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I'm the first Hispanic and one of the few women who've been vice chair for the party. So there's a lot of exciting changes. Our website is under construction as well, so if you try to go find it, you can't, because it's under construction currently. We have a Hable Español button, and we're going to make sure that we're reaching out to our Latinos, because as you guys know, and as I learned working with you guys, the Latino population is the second largest voting bloc. And of course, we don't just see them as voters. We see them as people and business owners.
We see them as Texans.
Yeah, we see them as Texans, somos tejanos.
Right.
Y aquí hay muchos tejanos, especialmente en Longview. We have a huge Hispanic population. I'm actually sitting here at my roofing company talking about this because as Latinos, you described earlier, we're always working. But we're going to have the TLC come down on March 16th. It'll be our first ever Latino engagement event in this area. So that'll be very exciting.
And the first Colombiana in that area.
Colombiana. Andrea, no one can, look at that beautiful woman sitting across that screen. So we're excited to have you guys. We're excited for all the new things coming here to East Texas. We really want to make sure that we show people that Latinos don't have to be Democrat. They can be Republican. And as Latinos, we are conservative. We believe in religious freedom. We believe in starting businesses. We do not like high taxes. And we just want to be able to express ourselves freely. And I think it's very important to get involved on a local level. So as you guys said, I got to work with you on a statewide level through the PAC. I got to work for Governor Abbott in the past in Southeast Texas. And I've worked for the Harris County Republican Party. God has been really good, and I've been really blessed to have a lot of positions. But my mission and my vision, after working with you guys so closely, it opened my eyes to see that Texas is red currently, and we're going to do everything we can to do that. And if the rest of the state's relying on East Texas to stay the bloody, bloody red that it is, then that means that we have to bring all our Latinos to vote for us too. So there's a huge Hispanic population here, and we're really excited to get them pumped up about the Republican Party and, just excited for all the changes that are coming.
Well, Michelle, I want to congratulate you. I think you've done a marvelous job. You and I met on the campaign trail back when Governor Abbott was running for re-election. And, I've always been very impressed with you and your background and your biography. But, people need to realize that you are the executive director. You are the second executive director of the Texas Latino Conservatives. And during, most people don't realize, but when you form an organization, the most difficult part is the beginning, and you were there, helping us get started. You were enthusiastic. You were vociferous. You were ubiquitous. You were everywhere. By the way, you know what ubiquitous means?
En español, sí.
Oh, ¿cómo se dice en español?
Ubicuidad.
Everywhere. So, I want to thank you for that. I'm just continue to marvel at your leadership and at your, as los mexicanos dicen, las ganas que tienes, because you never give up. People refer to you as the Energizer Bunny of politics in Texas. And I'm very proud of you. And I'm delighted that we're going to come up to, I think what is it, Gregg County up there where Longview is?
Yes, it is Gregg County. And don't make me cry. I just got my eyelashes done. They have to stay perfect.
Fashion first.
Well, but beyond that, I also wanted to say, not only are you involved in politics, You helped the PAC get started. You're the vice chair of Gregg County Republicans. You're organizing the young Republicans up in your county. But you also managed to find time to volunteer. I think you're very active with Child Advocates. Is that the organization you're involved with?
Yes, sir. So I am a court-appointed special advocate through CASA, which means that a local judge, and so Judge Womack here in Gregg County, swore me in at the 365 District Family Court. So I am appointed by a judge to advocate for the needs of children. So I do that through the CASA organization. I also help with the youth at my church, New Beginnings. And most recently, I'm going to be joining the Boys and Girls Club here and helping because there's 80% of Latinos that attend and they don't have any Latino volunteers. So Gregg County people, if you're watching this, come volunteer with me. I'll give you my...
So, again, you can't help but be proud of Michelle.
I'm so proud of her, and she became like my adopted daughter.
Yeah, is this, and look, I mean, not to be critical, I just want to compare the difference between the liberal left who's sitting around waiting for the government check to come in, waiting for government to take care of me, waiting for, my stimulus check. Immigrant Latinos like Michelle are out doing things for the community. They're not waiting on government. She's taking el toro por los cuernos. That's what we say, taking the bull by the horn. And she's contributing to her community, to the state of Texas. She's not sitting around waiting for a government check, a stimulus check, and the government to tell her what to do. She is leading in her community. And that is a vast difference between the liberal left and those of us that put the family first. We'll put God first, put our family second, and then, our careers and our children and our future. And so there's a big difference. So when you want to know what's the difference between conservatism and liberalism, here you go. Michelle is a prime example of here you got 3 immigrants again, because Michelle is from Juarez.
From Juarez.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm from Havana. And you're from
Bogota, Colombia. Bogota, Colombia.
So, here we are. We're not waiting for stimulus. We're making a difference.
And that says a lot also about your family, Michelle, because we've been talking about you, but you are a product of your family. Your dad came here to this country and he started his roofing company. He's been working so hard, and now you are helping him and in charge of that company. So tell us a little bit of that background for people to understand that is you are the product of your mom and your dad hard work.
Yes, so I think that we live in a society of instant gratification. So the problem I see with people in our culture, whether they're young or older, is that people want things instantly handed to them. When we first came to the United States, particularly here in Longview, my dad came first. He was here for a couple of years. He became a naturalized citizen, actually, just so he could get started in the roofing trade and move over here. We waited in Mexico until we got our permanent resident cards. And then eventually I became a citizen. My dad became a citizen. My sister became a citizen. And my mom is still a resident, but she is working towards her citizenship. So, it never stops. It's one act of obedience at a time. And so that's how we try to live our lives. And we're very blessed and thankful to be business owners in America. And one thing that I want to stress to everybody listening today is that you have 2 choices in life: to be a victim or a victor. We all have backgrounds. We all have struggles. We all have blessings in our life. My sister has special needs, and we could have seen that as a catalyst to be depressed and down and, feel sorry for ourselves. But if we had done that, then we probably would have never made it from Mexico. We would have stayed in Mexico. My dad would have been here, or if my dad had just felt sorry for himself because things were moving slower, then maybe he wouldn't be where he is today. But he kept his head up. He kept on working. And my dad always says in Spanish, and I'll say in English, he says, "Si tú no lo quieres hacer, no hay problema, quítate, yo lo hago." So if you don't want to do it, no big deal. Just move to the side and I'll get it done. And that's the sort of attitude I try to have as well in my everyday life. Is one thing I learned is that by hoping and wishing, you're not going to get anything done. But by praying and actively working, then those are 2 things that are actually going to help you get things done. And to every immigrant out there listening, life is not over. Yes, life is hard, and you can achieve anything you want in this country with hard work and perseverance. we were a blue collar roofer, my dad in Mexico, you know, and we were okay, but we weren't like super well off. And, you know, when we first moved here too, when he first started his company, we weren't rich. We were actually pretty poor. We lived at the Summer Green Apartments, and we had a 1-bedroom apartment, and we all lived there. And, you know, but my dad kept going and worked a couple jobs and was cut grass too and did whatever he had to get ahead. And now he has a business. So things don't pop up overnight. They take hard work to get there. So.
Well, Michelle, we got another guest in the studio that we want to talk about some immigration policies and some changes in statutes that may be coming down the pike. But I just simply want to say that on Friday, I'm going to be in your old backyard stomping grounds. We're going to be in Grimes County and Brazos County. We're meeting with the chairs of those two counties. And we're also meeting with the commandant of the Corps Cadets at Texas A&M. We're having lunch with him. We were so...
you didn't invite me.
You're certainly welcome to come. We were so impressed with him that we decided to follow up and you know, see how we can get him more involved. You know, a lot of these, you know, being a general, he can't be involved in politics, but he can certainly be involved in the culture, in education. And since we are a 501c4, we want to bring him in to see how he can help our young people become leaders like Michelle Gamboa. So, Michelle, God bless you. We're looking forward to being up there on the 16th.
Before Michelle leaves, I want you to have the last words, Michelle, as your position right now. How can people help you to grow this and to send the message and to educate our community? You know, I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was already 25 years old after I graduated from a journalist. And as you said, this is the opportunity, the country of the ladder opportunities. Here, you can do everything you want. I never in my life I dreamed that I was going to be on TV on one of the most important Spanish television in the country. I never thought that when I was you know, being raised in Colombia, growing up there, and going to the university there. But now that we have this power, you know, the power to communicate, now that you have that position, that it gives you a power of communicate and being example for others, what we can do to educate and to send the message to the Hispanic community.
I want to say thank you guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate you letting me be on. And again, don't forget to donate to the Texas Latino Conservatives PAC. Go online and visit them. They're great people. But to all our Latinos out there, you know, just keep working, be involved. Look up the Republican Party of Gregg County. If you're here, we will plug you in. But for our Latinos, oftentimes like you said, we complain a lot about what's bothering us, that's going on in our country, but sometimes we don't go out there and try to change it. So go out there and change it. Become an activist. Become a precinct chair. Join your local county party, or just become a super volunteer. Help knock on doors, make phone calls. But the only way to make change is to go about making change. So those are my last few words to you guys: is get involved, plug yourself in, and please become a precinct chair. That is the ultimate role where you can have power to organize your community, and more than that, just be involved with your local county party or be involved with the Texas Latino Conservatives. They're doing a lot of this already. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Get plugged in with them. Get plugged in with us at the Republican Party of Gregg County or the Young Republican Federation if you're 18 to 39. And we look forward to, you know, getting after it. Like they said earlier at the beginning of the show, yes, we're sad that President Trump is gone. He did a lot of great things for Hispanics. But, you know, we have 4 years to start campaigning now. So let's find those good candidates. Let's train, motivate, educate them, and equip them to be the leaders that they need to be to represent our voice on the state level and in Washington, D.C.
Well, Michelle, well said, and I want to congratulate you because one of the complaints I hear from Latinos a lot is, oh, the Republicans don't give us this, or the Republicans don't give us that. I'm getting an echo in here. I hope you don't. Are you getting an echo?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
So I hope that's not going out. But anyway, great advice, Michelle. Get involved. Take it. Don't wait for somebody to hand it to you. You want to get involved in the conservative movement and you're Latino? Get involved. Show up to the executive committee of your local Republican Party and tell them, I am going to run to be a precinct chair, or I want to fill a vacancy. We need your voice. We need to know that Texas will be conservative, will be reflecting our values for the near future. So anyway, thank you, Michelle.
We love you, Michelle. See you soon.
I love you guys. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Okay, Andrea, vas a introducir a Carlos.
Voy a presentar a Carlos Mejías, cubano como tú. Y así habla como tú, cubano, le gustan los cigars y le gusta el roncito y el cafecito cubano, que no hay such a thing como cafecito cubano, dices tú, que es café y café.
Pero la pregunta es si es redneck. Si es, porque mi hermana,
como
es,
tú nadie.
Las placas, las chapas,
las
el cargo de mi hermana dicen Q-Tex, Cuban Texan.
Q-Tex, así mismo.
Q-Tex, so I need to know if he's a Q-Tex.
Las placas de mi papá, my dad's license plate says, I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as fast as I could.
Yes. Carlos Mejías is abogado. He is an attorney, and he is the founder of Mejías and Lindsay Law Firm. So, and a very good friend of us. And, you know, I met him like 2 years ago when he started his law firm and everything, and I started helping him with his marketing and everything, and he goes so big that it's hardly to get in hold of him now.
Yeah.
But you know, but he gave us his time today.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much, Orlando. Thank you so much, Andrea, for bringing me onto the show today. Like she said, I started practicing law 2 years ago, and for the better part of those 2 years, I have been working in immigration, fighting the good fight for our people, those that deserve to be in the country, those that are hardworking, educated people, to come in and follow the process legally. Follow a process to become a resident of the United States, or in cases where it's warranted, a citizen of the United States. So I've spent quite a bit of time working with these issues, and I'm honored to be here with you guys.
Well, and that's a timely issue that you're involved with because, as you know, yesterday was inauguration, and through the inauguration, we had a multiplicity of executive orders launched yesterday, one of them being, focusing on immigration. I'm always troubled, Carlos, when both sides, both Republicans and Democrats, when they start issuing and sending out all these executive orders, that even if you challenge them in the judicial process, it takes months, if not years, to resolve those. And I'd like to see a diminution of executive orders. I know that's not going to happen in our, charged political environment, but one of the executive orders yesterday had to do with the issues along the border. Those of us that live in Texas understand these waves of Central Americans coming up towards the United States. We're all very sensitive to the needs and the plight of the poor families that are trying to escape poverty, violence, lack of education, lack of access to health care. But folks, we're limited. We just like during this pandemic, we have a occupancy capacity at restaurants. America has an occupancy capacity, and the capacity is what can the taxpayers afford, right?
That's right.
There has to be a legal system of immigration. You can't willy-nilly organize a caravan and just storm the gates. And so, Carlos, what did the president do yesterday with respect to the executive order?
So the president signed an executive order basically defunding a lot of the money that was the emergency status that was declared at the border of the United States, which prevented more money from emergency funds from going into border protection. Now, there are a lot of people, thousands of people every day that are stuck at that border trying to get into the country. It is necessary for our country to be able to protect its borders. And that's not to say that we're not going to let those people in, that we're not going to vet those people that are good people from coming into the country and becoming residents and doing good things and paying their taxes. But we do have to have a system of protecting our borders just like every other country in the world.
And let me highlight this because a lot of folks watching us live in urban areas. We have some viewers, Andrea, as you know, from Pennsylvania, from California, and whatnot. But a lot of the northern states don't understand this, and a lot of the urban residents of Texas don't understand this. The lack of funding for border security, what the president did yesterday, hurts the communities along the Texas border. Maverick, Star, Hidalgo, Cameron, all those counties bear the brunt of the needs of these immigrants that are coming across because the social services are already stretched. So, for example, when abuelita gets sick and she has to go to the local clinic, guess what? She has to stand in line behind half a dozen to a dozen undocumented aliens, each accompanied by a Customs and Border Patrol officer. And so it's absolutely unfair to cut resources that are being sent down for the emergencies that are being created along our border. This is what the left doesn't understand. And Carlos, you know, from a political perspective, and I don't want to dump you into too much politics, because I read a lot of newspapers and the New York Times and the New York Post and USA Today and the Washington Times, and they're all scratching their head about the realignment. Why did Texas Tejanos vote conservative? Hell, go down to the border. See why they're voting conservative. Because they're bearing the brunt of the irresponsibility of Washington, D.C., once and for all, coming up with an immigration policy that we can all live with.
And I completely agree with that. It's not a matter of whether there should be a wall or how big the wall should be or how deep it should be. It's a matter of personnel, stations along the border where these people can actually go in and get registered into a system, and they can be vetted as to whether or not they should even be in the country to begin with. So when the left is talking about, you know, the wall and the wall and the wall and the waste of money on the wall, it's not really just one wall. It's a system of checkpoints, a system of vetting immigrants that are coming by the droves, by thousands into our country.
You know what's interesting, and I'm going to give Andrea some time because I don't want to do all the talking.
No, really?
But you know, part of ICE, part of Immigration's Customs Enforcement, part of Customs is to make sure that you don't bring any fruits into the United States that may be infected with invasive species. We spend millions and millions of taxpayer dollars looking for some exotic fruit fly or worm in a frickin' papaya, and the President of the United States signs an executive order, the very first thing he does, saying, come across, you know, we're going to stop funding the emergency, appropriations we have to help these border communities. It's mayhem. Come across, and yet they're spending millions, if not billions, of your dollars looking for fruit flies and invasive species. That doesn't make sense to me, Carlos.
And it doesn't make sense to me either. And one thing I'd like to add, without getting too political here, any time that there is a system of government that is dominated by one party, like we have at this point right now, is dangerous regardless of what side you're on. Because the thing that makes our country function, our democracy function, is that exchange, the debate of ideas. So right now we're looking at a time where we really don't know how far this is going to go with the border. We don't know how far it's going to go with immigration. There's one truth that immigration needs to be reformed. We need to do something about the border, but the way that things are going right now, probably not the best way to do it.
And I promise I'll shut up.
No, it's fine.
Everybody is fed up with the immigration issue. This is the screwiest system, not because of the American people, not because we're insensitive. Again, here you have 3 immigrants. It's because of the lawlessness that Washington, D.C., a la United States Congress, permits along the southern border of the United States. This is all squarely in the lap of every U.S. senator and every congressman, regardless of party.
Right.
You know, so get your act together. We pay you. Fix this immigration problem. And signing an executive order defunding ICE, which is what our county judge wanted to do, and AOC in New Jersey. Hey, by the way, let me say the last word about this. Again, why are Latinos along the border voting conservative? Because there's 3 things that the liberal left wanted to do. Defund ICE, which they don't support. And by the way, when you go down to the border, 80% of the ICE agents and customs,
Latinos.
They're Mexicanos. They're Tejanos.
That's right.
The other ticket out of the South Texas is joining the military. And finally, because I've been the recipient of several citations for speeding in South Texas, 80% of our state troopers, Department of Public Safety, are Latinos. So our border communities are immigrations, customs enforcement, military, and law enforcement. Those are the three agencies that the liberal left despises in this country. And they're wondering why Latinos, Tejanos are voting conservative. Go figure. All yours.
I'm not going to invite two Cubanos anymore. I'm not going to go for that.
That's what we get, right?
Next time, did you tell me invite somebody, I'm going to make sure it's not Cubano. Because you don't let me talk, guys.
You got 20 minutes.
We got a lot to say. We have a lot of thoughts.
I'm gonna ask you something, Carlos. You know, I'm a journalist, so the new administration was for 8 years. You know, it was the vice president during 8 years, and they promised pretty much the same thing that they promise right now. You as an attorney, but also as an immigrant, and as somebody, as a just citizen like me, that, you know, we pay taxes, we came here the right way, and I'm raising my kids. You don't have kids yet, but you have your family here, and you have sister and a dad and a mom and the whole family here. It's a big challenge for you, not only as an immigrant, as a community, Latino community, but as an attorney, seeing that all these promises for 8 years, and they change back and forth, yes. And then now the same promises that we don't know if it's going to happen or not, and also dealing with your clients that also they're immigrants and they're Latinos.
Right.
So how do you see these 4 years of the new administration having that previous experience for 8 years?
Well, for the previous 8 years when Joe Biden was vice president under Obama, there was a change by executive orders, by different policy changes that made being an immigration lawyer exceedingly difficult. After those 4 years, when Trump was in office, unfortunately, similar things happened. There were a lot of policy changes that had to be fixed from the previous administration that made it very difficult to be an immigration attorney. And it made it even more difficult for me to face the millions of families that come into my office. Families who come into my office with their children who are citizens, people who are hardworking people, wanting to become residents of the United States, wanting to do the right thing. And sometimes I have to call them 1 week after they come in, where I give them advice and I say, well, you know, there's a new executive order. This thing is different now. Now we've got to change tactics. So what I would like to see for the next 4 years or the next 20 years in this country is some unified system that works, something that people can rely on. Our system of laws is dependent on same facts lead to similar results in court. And what we've got right now in immigration, same facts lead to vastly different results when it's somebody's future in the United States on the line.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating. It's frustrating not only as an immigrant. It's frustrating as a journalist, as a part of the community, as a mom, as a friend, as seeing all of these things, and now dealing, because some of my clients are lawyers. And I'm seeing they're struggling with all of this. And they, as you said, Carlos, and you have to face them. Right. And they're desperate. And they're like, they don't know what to do. And this is hardworking people that came here and they have a hope to fix their situation. And it's like whoever is in charge in the government or whoever is in this administration is just playing with their lives.
That's right. Yeah. Just last week, I had a Venezuelan client come into my office in tears. Because
somebody stole their arepas.
Somebody stole their arepas. That's right.
No. A Colombian person said the arepas are from Colombia, not from Venezuela. That's why.
Well, the Venezuelans would disagree. Well, she was in tears. She just didn't know what was going to happen now. And this is something that I deal with all the time. You know, people who just don't understand. There's so much uncertainty with their future in the United States, and all they want to do is pay their taxes, be good people, come here and work and do the right thing.
Carlos, I want to share with you something, because part of what we do at the PAC is we try to help the U.S. Congress. Although we're a state PAC, we can offer advice. And some time ago, we came up with a very simple policy. And we have a simple name for it, right? Conservatives, Republicans like to call themselves the party, you know, that stands for family values. Well, we agree with that. And particularly us Latinos, we're all for family values. So there is, there's a little bit of compatibility between the Republicans and the Latino community. So I said, let's make it easy for Republicans. We came up with something called family stabilization, right? You care so much about the family. Let's recognize that we have 20 million undocumented aliens in this country, many of whom have been here for several decades, crossed the border when there was no border security because we needed the cheap labor in this country. So these mostly Mexicans, let's admit it, most of our undocumented population are our neighbors to the South, Mexico. So we said, let's come up with a policy called family stabilization. What does that mean? If you're an undocumented alien that's lived here for a long time, and I don't, Congress can decide what's long. It can be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, doesn't matter. And you have a family. Chances are you have grandchildren. The kids are U.S. citizens. The grandkids are U.S. citizens. Why do we have to have the continued threat of deportation of the matriarch and the patriarch of that family because they don't have documentation? So give them an opportunity to apply for a legal status, Carlos, not citizenship, not a pathway to citizenship, a legal status, provided they've never violated the penal code of the United States or any state, renewable every 5 years, and they can continue to renew that permit and stay here with their family and be able to travel to their native countries to visit their grandparents and bury their families. Everybody in the Latino community that's undocumented loves the program. Remember, in 1986, Ronald Reagan signed legislation that allowed millions of people, and particularly Latinos, to apply for citizenship. Over 60% of the Latinos that were eligible for the application of citizenship never applied because all they wanted was the green card. Yeah, they got the green card to stay.
That's right.
So come on, guys and ladies in Congress, do something. Quit the infighting. We're the taxpayers. We're paying your salaries. And by the way, we ran a poll here at the Texas Latino Conservatives. We polled the largest 5 counties in Texas, and we asked Republican primary voters how they felt about family stabilization that provided no pathway to citizenship, but did give a legal status to undocumented families. Nearly 75% of Republican conservative primary voters supported that. And yet, crickets from our leaders in Congress. Now, is that a policy, Carlos, that in your mind would work for the families that are here in this country?
Orlando, I think that would be a fantastic solution to the current problem. A lot of the undocumented immigrants that are in this country right now simply want to have a work permit. Mm-hmm. They want to work, and they want to support their children. And they also want to not live in fear of ICE knocking on their door when they've been working, paying taxes for decades, and deporting them after they've built a life here. A lot of undocumented immigrants don't even speak the language that they spoke back home anymore. And they don't know people back home anymore. So by instituting a system like that, it would let them stay in the country, have them check in every 5 years, ensure that they don't, violate any of the penal codes, and let their families be unified.
And once and for all, let's, DACA, the Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals. Come on, guys, that's a no-brainer. Yeah. I mean, it's like Carlos says, these are children of undocumented aliens that might have been brought in the arms of their moms or parents across the border. It's not their fault. They don't even speak their native language. Right. I mean, if they're from Mexico or Guatemala or wherever, from Cuba, they don't speak Spanish. They went to school here. They speak English. Some of them are serving in the military.
And some of them, they don't even know about their culture or their own country.
Some of them are volunteers as EMTs in their community. I mean, guys, that's a no-brainer. Give these kids the opportunity to stay here and remove the threat of deportation. I don't get it. I mean, it's not rocket science, for God's sake, Carlos.
And you're absolutely right, Orlando. Not only is it not rocket science, but it's extremely expensive for the federal government to prosecute so many deportation cases.
At the same time, we're looking for the bugs in the papaya.
We're looking for the bugs in the papaya and the arepas, and we're also spending millions and billions and trillions of dollars in deportation proceedings that now are being elongated and delayed for years sometimes. Some of my clients have been in deportation proceedings for 4 years.
You know what Cubans would say? Qué barbaridad.
Qué barbaridad, de verdad que sí. Qué
De verdad que sí,
barbaridad.
de verdad que sí, chico.
Qué barbaridad que estamos en esta situación a estas alturas.
Oye, mira, I have a lot of Mexican friends, and they have a green card for years. And I always ask them, I mean, like, why you guys don't become a U.S. citizen? And they, you know what they said? I don't care. I just got the green card, and I'm able to work here, peace of mind. And, you know, it's something that I have in my heart for my country. I just want to keep being Mexican, but living in this country and be able to work and provide for my family. So I was like, wow. And that's exactly pretty much what you're saying. You know, they want, the only thing that they want is a peace of mind. That when they go to work, they know they're gonna come home, they're gonna come back home. Right. And the same with the kids. They go to school and they know when they come back home, they're gonna have their parents at home.
But then again, you know, this part of the reason I'm really proud of this show and the young people that show up. I say young because Carlos is probably less than half my age.
Check your
No, look, seriously. I mean, we had Michelle Gamboa,
an
immigrant from Juarez,
and she's like 26.
Cuban immigrant, Colombian immigrant. Mm-hmm. I mean, we get it. You know, we're passionate about this country. Mm-hmm. I served in the U.S. military. I mean, you know, Carlos, when he became, he got his degree in jurisprudence. You know what that is? JD?
Jurisprudencia.
Jurisprudencia.
Damn, all are good.
Oh, I know.
Anyway, when he got sworn in to practice in the Texas bar,
Lerman,
you took an oath, mm-hmm. as I did, and you did when you became a U.S. citizen. We take an oath to serve this country in a multiplicity of capacities.
Absolutely.
America recognizes that we immigrants make a tremendous contribution. We conservatives and Republicans have nothing against immigrants. What we're against is the lawlessness that is happening on our southern border, aided and abetted by the U.S. Congress. I know I'm going to have some congressional friends that are going to call me tonight and text me and say, dang, Orlando, you were tough on me.
Yep,
Hell
right.
yes, we're tough on you. We're paying your salary. Get it together, folks. It's not that difficult.
And it's a long time coming. It's a long time
absolutely.
coming. These issues have been, these issues have been a problem for decades in this country, and nothing happens.
And you touched something very important, Orlando, that people and many immigrants don't know, and that's why they don't approach to their state representative of U.S. representative. They don't know that we are paying their salary. They don't know. People don't know that we have, these people are in office, we are paying their salary, so we have rights to tell them what we want, what is our needs, and what we need for them.
And it's kind of on us to actually contact our representatives and let them know. We can't assume that they're going to act in our interest if we don't pick up the phone or go to their congressional offices and talk to them about what we want. So it's on our side too to do that.
And they are there because we choose them to be there, and we pay their salary, so we have rights for that. And people don't know, so that's very important. You know, contact your representative. You know, Google will tell you where. You know, just put your area, your zip code, and it will tell you who is that person.
Yeah, if you just Google who represents me, you'll get it.
Of course.
I don't think Andrea's going to give a raise to her congressman.
I don't think so. Didn't sound like it.
Oh, my gosh.
But it's true.
Yeah.
You said it. We pay their salaries.
Carlos, what else? You know, as an attorney working here in Houston, as an immigrant, as, the child of an immigrant, what else do you see? What else would you like to see happen? And I don't want to put you in the, on the spot, but what would you like to see accomplished in this? What is this? The 106th Congress coming up, or something like that?
Especially that his generation is going to be the future.
Yeah.
His generation and my kid's generation is going to be the future of this country.
Right.
You know, and we don't have.
Are you saying I'm the past?
Well, kind of, and I'm 48 years old, you know, so I'm done. But you're
I just turned 33 on Saturday.
33,
so.
yeah. He just turned. Happy birthday, by the way. He just turned 33. My kids are gonna be 16. So this is the future of this country. And right now, Carlos, even though that we are we're going through to be the majority of the minority, and we're growing, we don't have representation. We don't have leaders in our community to be our voice. So how do you see how Latinos, immigrants like you, young blood, can do to change that?
I'll start with a story about my father when we first arrived in the United States. We came here from Cuba. And one of the first things that I remember my father telling me when we arrived in the United States is that I needed to study English and to participate in the political process. He wanted me to become a lawyer from as early as I remember him talking to me. He was so dedicated in assimilating to our culture and becoming part of our system in the right way. That is the only way that we're going to move forward as a country, as a political group, as Latinos, if we actually participate in our system of government. There are avenues, there are courts, there are elections that we can participate in. You can go down, as Orlando said, you can go down to your local Republican conservative offices and ask for volunteer work. There's a million ways to get involved. So what I would like to see in this Congress is more attention to the issues of Latinos, because like it or not, the Latinos of this country are becoming the majority of this country, and we have rights.
Well, we need to step up and participate. We need to vote. We need to make sure that young people run for Congress. I was just thinking, I kind of like the ring of Gomez for Congress.
Hey, we have a nice comment. Look.
I like that.
So with, Ángel dice, lo que pasa es que la competencia, me imagino que el otro partido, tiene muchos años lavándole el coco a los hispanos y los republicanos. Han descuidado mucho la buena comunicación. Y Andrea lo sabe mejor que nadie, dice, ¿cierto?
Bueno, pero
cierto, tienes toda la razón.
¿Cómo se llama el señor que mandó?
Ángel, tienes toda la razón.
Ángel.
Y él se refiere, porque como yo trabajé en los medios, tienes toda la razón y siempre lo digo.
Ángel, está correcto, pero la responsabilidad es de nosotros. Hablar. Porque me pongo a ver la babosada, if I can say that word.
Sí, claro.
La babosada que vi en Univisión ayer, una reportera de Univisión en lágrimas.
¿Local o nacional?
Nacional.
Ajá.
En lágrimas. Give me a
¿Y por qué lloraba?
Porque Biden lo inauguraron. Y
lloraba de emoción, lloraba de emoción.
God, yo hubiera arrancado a esa mujer del aire inmediatamente.
No, si yo soy la directora de noticias, la voto. Porque sabes que no es objetiva.
Eso es lo que le están dando al público hispano. Es un mensaje izquierdista que sale de los dueños de Univisión.
Y el buen periodismo ya no existe.
No existe. No hay periodismo.
No hay periodismo.
There is no journalism in this country. What I was talking about is yesterday on Univision, there was a national reporter in tears because Joe Biden had been inaugurated. Holy Toledo.
She was very, emotional.
That's not journalism.
That's
I'd have yanked that woman off of the stage and,
So, Angel, you're right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Angel, it's up to us to participate and to fight back. And that's why we have the PAC, the Political Action Committee, is that we want Latinos of every stripe, Mexicano, Argentino, Cubano, Colombiano, lo que sea, to fight back because our values are conservative values.
Sí, Ángel, para repetir exactamente lo que estaba hablando, absolutamente ha sido un lavado de cerebro lo que ha pasado. Hay un lavado de cerebro del pueblo hispano. Para nosotros no saber los intereses de nosotros que están representados por el Partido Republicano, más que nada, los valores de familia, el amor al Dios, el trabajo, la lucha que nosotros siempre sufrimos, no es del Partido Demócrata, viene del Partido Republicano. Correcto. Es un lavado de cerebro de los medios, hacernos pensar que la izquierda es lo que nos van a representar, cuando verdaderamente es la derecha.
Bueno, Carlos, te agradecemos mucho tu tiempo. We appreciate your time. I know that lawyers bill by the hour, and so this has been very expensive for you. But thank you guys for tuning in. I want to say happy MLK Day to our African-American community. The reason the Republican Party was founded in Wisconsin was for one reason, for the elimination of slavery in this country. And every conservative needs to celebrate the victories and the hard-fought victories that our African-American brothers and sisters have earned. I have to admit that I'm a fan of PBS. I don't always agree with their programs, but I watch a lot of PBS because I do think they have some great programming. Mm-hmm. And I watched a PBS program about the African-American history, and there was a comment made there. And it said, no one has fought longer and harder for the rights guaranteed under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights than the African American, whether it's for the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, fighting against Jim Crow. And so I salute our African American friends that have been in and continue to be in the battle, because the battle isn't just for African Americans. The battle is for us. It's for our Bill of Rights. It's for America. So, happy belated MLK Day. Andrea, nos quedan 3 segundos. Te lo doy a ti.
Ay, tan lindo. Me dio 3 segundos. Carlos, muchas gracias a todos ustedes y espero que el próximo miércoles me dejen hablar un poco más. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Esta semana fue el jueves TLC Live, but next week we're going to do it as always every Wednesday at 11 más o menos, and hopefully Orlando let me talk a little bit more. Carlos, we don't more Cubans here in this show.
Gracias a todos ustedes.
Carlos, thank you so much.
Bye, guys.